History has no sympathy for the man who chooses poorly. No applause, no mercy, only a slow collapse, silent and irreversible. And by the time most men come to understand the full cost of their decisions, it's already too late. They're no longer building their potential. They're standing at the quiet funeral of it. Not because they were inherently weak, not because they lacked ambition, but because they opened the gates of their life to the wrong woman and never realized she was holding the match that would set everything ablaze. There are no warning bells. Your mother won't tell you. Your friends can't save you. And society? It thrives on your blindness. But Machiavelli saw the trap long before most ever did. He understood clearly that the downfall of great men is rarely the result of fate. No, it is far more often the result of a deliberate choice. Foolish, dazzling, seductive. In a world that floods men with stories of soulmates and ride-or-die romance, Machiavelli didn't offer comforting fairy tales. He offered something that has become rare in modern culture: raw, unfiltered reality. He knew that men judge more often by the eye than by the hand. He warned, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are. And that's the trap, illusion over essence. Most men are driven by what they see, but the wise man, he looks deeper. He trains himself to pierce through the glitter, through the charm, beyond the makeup and rehearsed smiles. He pays attention not when she's performing for attention, but when she believes no one is watching. That is when the truth shows itself. Let me give you the first brutal law. There are only two kinds of women you will ever encounter in this life: beneficial or destructive. There is no gray zone. Not, she's working on herself. Not, it's just complicated right now. No. A woman either multiplies your purpose, or she slowly drains it, subtly, silently, and completely. And here's the dark truth that few are willing to speak aloud. Most women today have mastered the art of appearing beneficial while living parasitically. They smile sweetly while poisoning your focus. They admire your ambition aloud, even as they quietly steer you off your course. And if you have not taken full ownership of your identity, if you are not a man governed by sovereignty, you will mistake it all for love. You'll call manipulation devotion. You'll call sabotage support. This message isn't about hate. It's not about bitterness. It's about strategy. Because if you fail to develop the cold clarity needed to choose wisely, you'll bleed out your life force in the name of commitment and call the pain honor. Machiavelli warned us, who seeks to deceive will always find someone willing to be deceived. And here's the dagger truth. If you choose a woman based solely on beauty, you've already handed over your power. You've signed the surrender papers. You just haven't seen the consequences yet. The greatest danger is not the woman herself. It's your inability to discern. Beauty blinds the undisciplined man. And in a world that trains men from birth to idolize appearances while dismissing substance, is it any wonder that so many fall to their knees for what merely looks right, while ignoring what truly is right? But Machiavelli didn't write for dreamers. He wrote for rulers. And a true ruler, he never lets the gates of his kingdom be breached by emotion dressed up as opportunity. A destructive woman doesn't need to shout. She doesn't have to storm the palace. All she needs to do is quietly distract you from your mission, from your principles, from your fire. She chips away at your purpose, not by opposing it directly, but by making you constantly explain it. She erodes your discipline by labeling it too strict, and eventually you won't even realize what you've done until the day you find that your throne has been traded for her temporary comfort. But the wise man, he sees it. He sees the illusion for what it truly is. An emotional weapon, coated in mascara, wrapped in compliments. When he looks at a woman, he doesn't ask, is she beautiful? He asks the question that truly matters. Can she stand beside my vision without trying to control it? That's the test. And most men, they don't ask it until it's too late, until everything they've built has already crumbled beneath them. So, here's your next law. Memorize it. Never choose a woman who disrespects masculine authority. It doesn't matter how sweet she sounds when she wants something. It doesn't matter how breathtaking she looks in a dress. If she competes with your leadership instead of aligning with it, walk away. If she challenges your direction without the foundation of wisdom, leave. If she sees your strength as a threat rather than as a source of protection, she is not your aspirant's woman. She is a storm dressed as sunshine, beautiful, disarming, radiant, but make no mistake, beneath the glow is a force that can level kingdoms. Machiavelli understood power. He grasped its rules, its consequences, and its fragility. He knew that those who fail to secure power, who leave it unattended or casually hand it over, don't just lose it. They become slaves to the very forces they once tried to tame. And this, right here, is how countless men fall. You think you can handle her drama. You believe you can negotiate respect. You convince yourself that love will fix the chaos. But it won't. It never does. Because the moment you choose her without discipline, she holds the power, the very power you willingly gave away. You didn't lose it in battle. You surrendered it softly, wrapped it in velvet words, compromise, understanding, partnership. But Machiavelli, sharp and unflinching, knew what many modern men have forgotten. It is far safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And before you twist the meaning, this is not about being cruel or heartless. It's about being respected. A man who cannot command the respect of his woman will never, under any circumstance, hold her loyalty. Because a woman will always test your standards. Not to break you, but to see if you have a spine worth trusting. And when she finds none, when she realizes you bend and buckle under her emotions, she doesn't admire your softness. She resents it. She won't walk away immediately. No, she'll stay, long enough to drain your energy, to unmake your confidence, to quietly dismantle your manhood. And when it's all in ruins, she'll whisper the final blow. You changed. No, you didn't evolve. You collapsed. And she watched it happen. You were trained to believe that masculinity must always be soft, always yielding, always democratic. You were told that leadership must be negotiated, that strength is best shown through constant compromise, especially with women. But Machiavelli warned of what happens when power is diluted. It vanishes. The very moment you allow your authority to be debated, you have already surrendered it. She will never respect a man who apologizes for leading. She may smile to your face. She may nod and say the right words. But deep down, something inside her will shift, because she will know with certainty, that you don't stand for anything. And once a woman detects that your spine bends for her comfort, her attraction begins to die. Even the most modern woman, no matter how independent or progressive, deep down still wants to follow a man she cannot move. Does this mean being cold? No. It means being clear. Clear in your expectation. Clear in your vision. Clear in your boundaries. Because if she can rattle your soul with crocodile tears, seduce you into surrender, or argue her way out of your discipline, then you are no longer her man. You are her project, her puppet, her placeholder, until a man with a backbone steps through the door. See, loyalty doesn't come from sweet words. It doesn't come from love songs or long walks. You earn loyalty by being a man who cannot be manipulated. Here is your third law. Pay attention. Watch how she handles boredom. Any woman can be sweet when she's excited, when the energy is high, when gifts are flowing, when your attention is always available. But the test comes when the thrill fades, when silence creeps in, when life demands stability over entertainment. Does she bring calm to the quiet moments? Or does she ignite chaos just to feel alive? Because this is when her true nature steps out from behind the curtain. A woman who craves drama to escape her own emptiness will wreck everything you've built the moment real life demands patience, structure, or maturity. She will light a match in your kingdom, not because she wants to see it burn, but because she's bored. You want a woman who can sit in the stillness, who finds strength in peace, who can build in silence. Not one who burns everything down just to feel the rush of adrenaline. And then there's the lie. The bold lie society tells you. Her past doesn't matter. And if you care, they say, you're insecure. Machiavelli would laugh in your face. He'd tell you the truth with no filter. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Her past is your future. The woman who betrayed others before you isn't starting over with you. She isn't magically reformed. She's perfected the method. If her history is chaos, betrayal, dishonesty, and destruction, don't be naive enough to believe your love will rewrite that story. It won't. It will simply add your name to the casualty list. Don't ignore the red flags just because her smile is beautiful. Don't look the other way because she lies sweetly. Now, your next law. Listen closely. Never align your legacy with someone who mocks your mission. You are a man with vision, or you should be. And a man with true vision does not marry lust. He aligns with purpose. He commits to mission. He builds with someone who believes in the same code. If she disrespects your discipline, if she rolls her eyes at your ambition, if she worships attention but laughs at your long-term legacy, she is not your ally. She is your assassin. A woman who cannot handle stillness will crave disruption, and when there's none to be found, she will invent it. It starts small, a subtle restlessness when things are calm, a sharp word when the energy dips, a sudden coldness when peace settles in. When the spotlight fades, when the gifts stop flowing, when life takes on a steady rhythm, she becomes uneasy, and that unease is rarely harmless. Restlessness in a woman is not a minor flaw. It is often the hidden root of infidelity, drama, and sabotage, all of it dressed up in the language of emotional spontaneity. The world may call it passion, but the wise man sees the truth. This is a signal, not a quirk, a warning, not a phase. Machiavelli would call this what it is, an undisciplined soul, dangerous to any man on a mission. And if you choose to ignore this trait, understand, she won't destroy you in obvious ways. She won't flip the table and storm out. No, she'll erode you in silence, with subtle doubts, with emotional distance every time you dedicate yourself to your craft, with quiet resentment when you refuse to dance to the rhythm of her chaos. And then, there's her past. You've been told it's irrelevant, that a man who cares about a woman's history is insecure. But that's a lie designed to keep you blind. The truth? A woman who jumps from man to man doesn't value depth. She craves novelty. A woman who has betrayed others isn't someone who needs more time to heal. She needs accountability. You are not her savior. You are not her redemption story. You are just the next chapter in a pattern, unless you draw a hard line. Forget her promises, study her patterns. Because the woman who mocks your mission today will mock your downfall tomorrow and call it growth. Here's a hard truth that no man wants to hear, but every real man must obey it. If she doesn't fear losing you, she'll never value you. A woman who believes you'll stay no matter what, no matter how she speaks to you, how she acts, how little she contributes, will not love you more. She'll slowly begin to despise you. Why? Because what costs nothing is worth nothing. A man with no price. Machiavelli understood this well. He said men must be either caressed or crushed. There is no middle ground. And women, whether consciously or instinctively, will do the same. If she can't lose you, she will try to control you. If she fears losing you, she will rise to meet your standard. This is not about playing emotional games. It's about holding your frame. Because the man who is willing to walk away at any moment, he owns the power. Not by force, but by presence. No woman respects the man who trades that power for comfort. Stop rewarding disrespect with attention. Stop begging for loyalty with desperation. Stop bending your spine to avoid solitude. Machiavelli didn't write for soft men. He wrote for rulers. And a true ruler doesn't explain his worth, he guards it. He tests her. He doesn't select based on emotion. He chooses based on standards. Which brings us to your next commandment. Choose a woman whose presence strengthens your discipline, not softens it. The wrong woman will tempt you to skip the gym. She'll laugh at your rules. She'll mock your ambition, call it too much, say you're obsessed. She'll do it with a smile, and she'll call it love. But it's not love, it's treason. Treason to your purpose, treason to the man you could become. A real woman, a beneficial woman, doesn't beg you to soften. She dares you to stay sharp. A woman who doesn't fear losing you can never truly treasure what she has. Yes, she may say she loves you. She might even believe it. But if that undercurrent of healthy fear is missing, if she believes you will tolerate anything to keep her, she will eventually drift into complacency, or worse, quiet contempt. And that's why women instinctively test boundaries. It's not about cruelty, it's about confirmation. She's asking, without words, is this man real? Is he strong, or is he just pretending to keep me around? If you flinch, she knows. If you fold, she owns you. And a man who cannot walk away from a woman cannot lead her. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, long before modern psychology gave it a name. Respect is rooted in fear. Not fear of abuse, but fear of consequence. Fear of your absence. And that fear doesn't enslave her, it anchors her to reality. So while the modern world urges you to open up, to be endlessly vulnerable, Machiavelli would whisper something different. He would tell you to sharpen your edge. Because if a woman can stay in your life while openly disrespecting your values, you're not her king, you're her fool. And history? History is full of fools who loved too softly and lost everything they built. Now let me speak directly to the man who's already caught in the web. The man who hears these words and thinks, it's too late, I already chose wrong. Let me be clear. It's not too late, but it will cost you. It might cost you your comfort, your pride, your money, maybe even years you'll never get back. But ask yourself this and answer honestly. What's more expensive, leaving now or dying slowly over the next 20 years? Make no mistake, the wrong woman will drain you, piece by piece, until you're a shadow. And when you're finally empty, she will leave anyway. Not because she's evil, but because nature has no sympathy for a man who refuses to lead himself. Machiavelli knew the principle that still holds true. People respect what they fear losing. And if she doesn't fear losing you, it's because you taught her not to. Whether through hesitation, inconsistency, or soft surrender, you showed her she could act without consequence. But that ends today. You're not here to be an emotional sponge, soaking up every outburst and apology. You're not a background character in her story, nor a handyman sent to repair the wreckage left by other men. You are here to build. And what you build, your empire, your legacy, will either be fortified by her presence or burned to ashes by her nature. Most modern men don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they were trained, systematically and culturally, to believe that weakness is love. They were conditioned to think that bending means caring, that losing themselves means loyalty. They call surrender compassion. They call silence peace. They call self-betrayal devotion. But Machiavelli stripped away the delusion. He didn't cater to fantasies. He said, "A prince who is not himself wise cannot be wisely advised." In other words, if you're already weak, you will only attract those who exploit it. And if you're undisciplined, chaos won't just find you. It will disguise itself as love and invite itself in. You'll confuse her storms for passion, her mood swings for emotional depth, her manipulation for chemistry, and then you'll wonder why you keep getting unlucky. But the truth is, it's not bad luck. It's poor discipline. The most dangerous lie a man can tell himself is, "She'll change." No, she won't. Not in the way you're hoping for. She may adjust temporarily to keep you invested. She may mimic your values for a while, but eventually she'll snap back to the chaos that excites her. Because you were never the man she followed, only the one she figured out how to manage. The truth is, you're not stuck. You're addicted. Addict to the hope that this next time will be different, that the next apology will be sincere, that this next emotional breakdown will be the final one before breakthrough. You hope that your patience, your pain, your sacrifices will be repaid with loyalty. They won't. Because once you choose the wrong woman, you've signed a contract where the terms are rigged, and you lose by design. Every time you compromise your values just to avoid conflict, you lose your authority. Every time you silence your truth to maintain peace, you lose her respect. And once she senses that your world revolves around her approval, she won't admire it. She'll weaponize it. She'll reshape you into something smaller, safer, weaker, because now she knows she can. Machiavelli didn't write for men who needed comfort or therapy. He wrote for men who needed to reclaim the throne of their own mind. And the first step in doing that is simple but brutal. Admit you've surrendered. Then rise. Not for revenge, but for rebirth. Because the version of you she stayed for, the one who tolerated the disrespect, ignored the red flags, bent to please, that man has to die. And in his place, you must become the man she cannot manipulate, the man she cannot survive in the presence of, unless she evolves. Here's what no motivational speaker will ever tell you. No woman on earth is your purpose, not one. Your purpose is your mission, your discipline, your legacy. A woman can enhance it, or she can erode it. But she can never, under any circumstance, replace it. Yet most men today flip the formula. They make her the mission. They orbit her moods, her reactions, her desires. They wake up every morning chasing her validation. And then they wonder why she stops respecting them. The answer is simple. Women do not trust men who orbit them. They trust men who orbit nothing but their purpose. That's why the same woman who disrespects one man will worship another. Not because she changed, but because the frame changed. Now here's your brutal, non-negotiable lesson. Never choose a woman who cannot thrive in your absence. Want to know who she really is? Step back, disappear, watch. Does she remain grounded? Does she nurture what you've built? Or does she fall apart the moment your attention fades? Because if she cannot hold the line when you're not watching, she will absolutely betray it when life tests you. Machiavelli taught rulers to fortify their cities, to control their borders, to inspect their walls and guard their gates. And you as a man are no different. Your energy is your fortress. Your standards are your gates. Let the wrong woman inside, and it won't be an invasion. It will be a slow collapse from the inside out. And here's the part that stings. Most men who fall knew she was the wrong woman. They saw the signs. They felt the resistance. But they lacked the strength to walk away. A man without a mission doesn't stand still. He slips into emotion, into compromise, into servitude. He becomes a slave to her chaos. And the moment you place a woman at the center of your world, she instinctively begins to test whether you were ever built to lead. Because deep down, She doesn't want to be your oxygen. She wants to feel your fire. And that's why your absence, the ability to walk away, is the ultimate test. Not to play games, but to reveal her truth. Does she stay grounded when you're gone? Does she guard what you built, or does she chase validation the moment your back is turned? Most men never test this. Why? Because they are afraid of what they'll find. And that fear keeps them loyal to a fantasy instead of loyal to themselves. Instead of waking up, they hold on. They cling to the illusion because the alternative, facing the truth, demands too much courage. But your standards are not demands. They are not negotiable preferences. They are defenses, shields against manipulation, distractions, and the slow decay of your potential. Machiavelli warned rulers never to let enemies pass through the gates. He spoke of vigilance, of discipline. But modern men, blinded by beauty, confused by emotion, hand over the keys to women they barely know. And when their inner peace is reduced to ashes, when their focus vanishes and their confidence shatters, they cry betrayal. But the betrayal began with access. You are not merely protecting your heart. This is far bigger than emotion. We're protecting your legacy. And the woman you choose is either helping you fortify that legacy, brick by brick, or she's quietly laying the foundation for your downfall, while smiling in your arms. That's the deception. Destruction doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Let me tell you why most men ignore every obvious red flag. Because deep down, they believe they're the exception. You think your love is stronger. You think your patience will melt her resistance. You think if you wait long enough, she'll finally see your worth. But here's the truth she'll never say aloud. She won't. You're not her father. You're not her therapist. You're not her God. You are a man. And a man's time is not just valuable, it is his life. Every hour you spend trying to reform a woman who refuses to grow is time you steal from your future self, time you will never get back. Machiavelli didn't sugarcoat reality, he wrote it in iron. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. If you stay with the wrong woman because you're afraid to start over, that's not loyalty. That's delayed self-destruction dressed in hope. And here's the part most men don't want to admit. You chose her. Whether out of lust, loneliness, low self-esteem, or naive optimism, you let her in. You saw the signs. You felt the warnings in your gut. But you silenced your intuition, and now you're paying the price. But here's the good news. The suffering only continues if you keep lying to yourself. The hard truth? No woman has ever ruined a man's life. He did that by choosing her. And unless you face that fact, unless you accept that responsibility, the cycle will repeat again and again. You'll blame women. You'll blame society. You'll blame bad luck. When in reality, your enemy was never external. It was your refusal to raise your standards. Your downfall didn't begin when she betrayed you. It began the moment you refused to see her clearly. You excused the red flags. You romanticized the dysfunction. You convinced yourself, she's just different, even when your soul was screaming, get out. But you stayed, not because you were brave, but because you were afraid. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of admitting you invested your time, energy, and heart into someone who was never worthy of it. And Machiavelli would give you the truth, raw and unfiltered. Who allows himself to be deceived is already halfway conquered. You didn't just choose her. You protected her image. You defended her behavior to your friends. You made excuses for her disrespect. You bent yourself to preserve her illusion. And now the price is your purpose. But here's your wake-up call. You don't need more signs. You need more self-respect. Because every second you spend justifying her presence is a second stolen from the man you were meant to become. She didn't ruin you. She revealed you. She exposed the part of you still addicted to chaos, still chasing approval, still fantasizing about potential. That version of you has to die, because no queen will ever follow a man who kneels to his own illusions. Here's the law that will either set you free or keep you chained to destruction. You do not rise by getting lucky with women. You rise by being ruthless with your standards. And no, the world will not applaud you for this. They'll mock you. They'll call you controlling. They'll label you cold, harsh, even toxic. Let them talk. Because the man who stands alone in peace is richer than the one surrounded by chaos disguised as love. And if something in you shifted today, if this truth cut through the fog of your illusions, don't ignore it. Don't scroll past. Because Machiavelli didn't write for boys chasing comfort. He wrote for men ready to win. And if you want to win, you must understand this. Every woman you allow into your life is either sharpening your sword or dulling your edge. There is no neutral woman. There is no harmless choice. She is either fueling your mission or becoming the quiet enemy within your walls. So make your decision like a king, not a beggar. Test her, challenge her, step back, and see what reveals itself when you're no longer feeding her attention. Because any woman can act right while you're watching. The real question is, who does she become when you're not? If she continues to live by your values, even when there's no applause, no reward, no spotlight, you may have found something rare. But if she drifts the moment the chase ends, if she seeks validation the moment your focus turns inward, she was never truly yours. So choose wisely, lead ruthlessly, and never forget, a man who fears losing a woman is already owned by her, but a man who fears losing his purpose owns the world. If you found value in this message, please like, share, and subscribe to Echoes of Wisdom. Consider supporting the channel, link in the description below.